And when my older kid started hunting and he started really getting into, watching hunting videos, I would watch kind of what he had on, and I think more than ever, I probably watch more hunting videos now than I have in a while, you know. Dude, there's so much. I can't watch them all. Nobody can.
No,
Jesus,
no,
there's so
no.
many.
So what does a teenager that is interested in hunting? What does he watch? Is it hunting public? Is it Seek One? Like what are the
Um,
teenagers watching these days?
you know what, dude? My kid's 11, so he kind of just watches like what pops up in the recommended videos. So he's letting YouTube tell him. For a while, he was watching a lot of Bomar stuff.
Because as soon as you watch one video, then just boom, that's what's all
Yeah,
going to be
was
pushed
watching
at
a
you.
lot of Bomar videos back in the day. So I mean, I remember a few years ago, my kid was watching a bunch of Bomar videos, and he goes, "Dad, how come you don't kill deer as big as Josh Bomar?" He was like 8. I was like, "Thanks, buddy." He's
So
like,
like,
All right, guys.
$3.
One day,
same tree.
same tree.
Oh my God, I'm so
Woo!
Holy shit! Get a shot of these.
2 farms this year. Number 1 is done.
Did you say bye, Kevin?
I did. I already did. Bye, Kevin.
Bye, Kevin.
Bye, Kevin. Bye, Kevin.
Smoked it, buddy. Look at that. You destroyed it.
Joey takes
The shop is closing up.
Make sure he takes all his right antlers.
all right, guys, welcome to the Deer Shop Podcast, episode 21. A couple firsts today. First time filming in, I guess we're going to call it Deer Shop North for now. Kind of steal from Meat Eater there. But when it's cold, we're going to be in my basement. It's a little bit warmer.
Yeah, we're in
climate
Caleb's
controlled. We're working on lighting and stuff. We'll streamline this thing as we go. Today is our first big celebrity guest, I guess we'll call it. I mean, you are kind of a celebrity, but
in my own mind.
yeah.
Maybe.
It's our first celebrity guest. It's our first like Zoom remote guest, so we're kind of trying a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
today.
first time doing it over the air.
Yeah, over the air. You are recording his screen, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Everything's lined up. We have Justin Zarr, bowhunting.com. Bowhunt or Die is probably what most people know him from on YouTube. He's been the host of that for, 10, 11 seasons?
Too long, dude. I think 14 now.
14
I think we're
seasons.
in 14 now, yeah.
Man, wow.
It's
And then
disgusting.
he has, as part of that, he has the Pinch Point podcast, which you can find all the streaming stuff.
And that's relatively new, right?
Yeah, we started that like early this year.
Cool.
Right around the beginning of this year, something
I
like
think
that, maybe
you're
the
like
spring.
38 or 39 episodes, something like that. I
Yeah,
saw
we're
today.
doing one a week, something like that.
It's actually kind of cool. It's hunting related, but it's more of I would call it news and like hot topics and what is like happening in the hunting world right now. It's less tactics and
Yeah.
like, hunting
More
hunting
like the
J-hooks and-
the drama of social media,
Yeah,
all the stuff
yeah.
going
Yes.
on.
which is kind
Yeah,
of cool.
what are people talking about right
Yeah,
now,
everybody loves
right?
talking about this stuff, and now you have a podcast to listen to.
Yeah, so I do enjoy it. We actually turn it on road trips. We go on a ton of road trips, and we'll do 2 or 3 episodes real quick on one of our 6-hour road trips because we'll fly through a bunch of different podcasts. You can't
Sure.
sit there and listen to, the Dan
same person
Infalt
for
talking
6
about
hours.
hunting swamp bucks for 4 hours straight. Like it just doesn't work. So we like to kind of switch it up, but they're fun because they're quick and they're fast and they're not 4 hours. And
Right.
you guys
that
have
was
the
our
video
goal.
version, which is cool.
Yeah, they've gotten a little bit longer than we wanted in the beginning. We wanted them like a half hour, but it's like there's always so much to talk about. And in the beginning, it was kind of like we were just like, I don't want to say we were just giving the news with less commentary, but as time has gone on, we enjoy giving more commentary about what's going on instead of just like saying, hey, this happened. We like to give our own little 2 cents about it, or 10 cents in most cases.
I feel that because we were trying, like when we first started ours, we were trying to avoid having it be conversations about us and conversations about everything we feel individually, but it just turned into that real quick. Like you can't be objective forever, and it lasted.
Yeah.
The objectivity lasted about 2 episodes, and then now it's just personality, and those are all the best podcasts, anyways, is personalities.
Yeah. Agreed.
So I kind of introduced you. My first question I got, or where I want to go, is what is exactly that you do? Like what do you
What is
do,
it that I
Justin
do?
Zarr?
What do I do for like a real job?
Yeah, I mean, real job / what you bring to our industry, I guess you should say, because you like do
Sure.
software stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of a big crossover. So, Todd Graff, who owns all this wonderful stuff, I met Todd in 2003, I want to say. and he actually owns a pheasant hunting club. So where you guys used to come out to the get together. So I started working part-time at the pheasant club on the weekends, helping out there. And then Todd had a job at his IT consulting company that opened up in 2004. So prior to that, I was basically following in my dad's footsteps. I was probably going to be a mechanic. I was working in a shop for a landscape company. I was always kind of a computer kid at the time. And I was like, well, screw this. I don't want to work in a shop the rest of my life. I want to go do this. So I jumped over, started working for Todd at the IT company, and he was starting to build websites at the time. And then back in those days, owned HuntingNet.com.
That's where we met you guys. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
the
that's
original
you
forum.
guys. Yeah, the old school forum, like when forums were like really a popular thing.
They used to be so cool. Forums used to be so cool.
Well, it was before social media. It was
Right.
kind of like the first real form of social media in its infancy, right?
Yep.
And so I started working for Todd in '04 and kind of helping to run HuntingNet and then running the IT and the web development side of things. I mean, I wasn't running it then. I was just a snot-nosed kid that didn't know anything. And then, here I am almost 20 years later. So next year will be my 20-year anniversary working with Todd. So, he sold HuntingNet in '07, I want to say. We started BowHunting.com in '08. And then in 2010, we started Bow Hunt or Die as a show. And then this year we started Pinch Point. So there's been a lot of things along the way. But my day-to-day job, I run the IT consulting and the web development company. I think we have 15 people here now, a bunch of developers doing stuff, building websites. We do a lot of stuff for people in the hunting industry.
Yeah, I kind of picked up on that. I was going through some of your stuff today.
Yeah, so we build websites for a ton of people in the hunting space. So that's mainly what I do all day. On the bowhunting.com side of things, we've got an editor, Brody Swisher, who's kind of in charge of our editorial content that kind of flows through the website. So we have weekly meetings, just kind of brainstorming content, going over our calendar, what we're doing when. And then obviously we're filming, our show, we're filming Bow Hunt or Die, we're filming the podcast, we're doing social media, sending emails, all that jazz. That's kind of maybe 15 to 20% of what I do on the day to day. Most of my time is spent managing all these employees and web development projects and IT projects.
Yeah, I was going to kind of get to that a little bit later. When we talk about Bow Hunt or Die, like how many guys you have filming for you and stuff. Like the crew is massive compared to what it used to be before. But yeah, we met you on the internet through H&I, but then the bowhunting.com stuff, we were younger kids back then, and we were ate up with it.
Yeah, it was like the 2008 to 2010, 11 era. Yeah. That's when we were on the forums every day. Kind of before Facebook groups and all this got bigger, before YouTube got real big.
Definitely before Facebook and before the blow up of YouTube. I mean, it was the place. I'd log in every day and check things for a couple hours. I mean, we actually met a lot of people through there that we still talk to. You might not even remember him from there, but we had a buddy, Jay, that at the time worked for Charlotte Fire, but was kind of from our area. We met him through your guys' websites, and we still talk. He lives 10 minutes down the street now.
Yeah, and we've been
daily and
lifelong friends with him, and I go out hunting out west with him and all that.
Yeah, he's
just from those forums back then.
How many times you guys been out west together? Three or four
times now.
So it's been we made some good connections from the forum days.
For sure. I mean, half of our freaking Bow Hunt or Die team probably came.
So
from
how
there,
are the
some way.
forums anymore? Is there still people?
There's still
on
people.
them?
It's a whole different group of guys.
Like, is it still active though? Like, people still making posts?
It's certainly nowhere near what it used to be, but yeah, it's pretty active. There's a pretty core group of guys that are on there, regularly talking to each other. Not a lot of the old crew. You think about younger people coming up nowadays, like they don't know what the hell a forum is.
Right.
They just know TikTok and Instagram.
Well, the old guys don't want to be involved with that, so they dedicate to the actual websites.
Yeah.
I'm in the contest this year, but I'm not. I've only posted a few times. Like, I'm the guy that I used to hate. Like, I come in like once every 3 weeks and I've seen some bucks and been busy filming, watch my video, and like I'm sure my teammates hate me, but just for old times'
they just want the points, man. They don't care.
Well, I got your. I think I'm on a team with the guy who runs the thing, Little Chief or something, or Junior. I can't remember. There's. All the old ones are gone.
He's like main admin now.
Yeah.
He's retired and he's on there quite a bit.
I actually have it written down here to like kind of ask about some of the guys that we used to be real tight with. So we would go. So just to back up a little bit, we we started going to these get-togethers, we called them. I think at first there was an unofficial one, and then there was like 2 official ones. And then you got cool and only let your pro staff go, so we weren't invited anymore.
That was Todd's.
They were getting pretty big towards the end.
Yeah, and they were getting kind of wild and stuff.
We had some crazy times, there's no doubt.
Yeah. But we were, and to preface, we were just teenagers. I think some of the guys thought we were older than we were. Like
I was still in high school when we were out there shooting, so.
They thought we were older than we were, but we would have Buckeye, so Scott Abbott, which I don't know if you still talk with him much. I do. Here or there.
I just talked to Scott the other day.
He would just roll through, pick us up from our mom and dad's, and we'd go camping for a weekend in Chicago.
With a bunch of strangers.
With a bunch of strangers.
that we met online.
That we met on the internet.
So there's a funny story behind all this, right? Before I worked for Todd, I was like, me and my group of friends here that I kind of grew up with, we were all into like Mustangs and fast cars, right? So we were all part of a Mustang forum that was called the Corral. And it was like the biggest Mustang like racing forum out there. And we were like you guys, we were like ate up with this. All we wanted to do is like screw with our cars, go to the drag strip, street race, be assholes, like whatever. And they rented out a racetrack in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and put on an event called Corral Day. And you would pay money to get into the racetrack. But then what was cool about it was there was a campground attached to the racetrack. So it was basically the same thing. We all got together. I met a bunch of people from all over the country that I'd only known through the forum. We got together for a weekend, camped, partied, and raced our cars all day, right? And we would do this every year. And that was kind of the inspiration behind like putting a get-together on for it might have been H&I back then. I don't even think it was bowhunting.com.
Yeah, I don't know.
Was the first one a hunting net get-together?
I don't know. I don't remember if I don't remember if I ever went to the H&I one. I know I went to first. It was bowhunting.com, but it wasn't official yet. It was like like some type of camping trip.
Just people from the forum.
That Hank, the In the Kitchen, I think was his name, kind of helped put it on, which I haven't talked to him in.
Hank Lewandowski. I haven't talked to Hank in years. He's
Probably
actually
10 years.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has social media.
I don't know either.
But I remember he was a big part of it.
It all.
Yeah.
In the early days, and luckily there was a campground 2 miles down the road.
Yeah, yep.
The club that Todd owned, so it all kind of just worked out. But yeah, those were good days.
Yeah, we would get together, we would camp, we would have, I think it was on Saturday, right? There'd be an archery competition, and it was like multifaceted archery competition. There was long distance shoots like with an iron buck. There was 3D competition. There was a couple other things.
Pop up,
had.
3D we would do.
And I was always
sporting clays.
Yeah, the sporting clays. I was always really bad. I never did very well at all. But Isaac actually won some of the competitions one year, the 3D and maybe one other one.
Yeah, that was back when I was a teenager, just shooting my bow. I wish I could shoot my bow as well now as I did back then, because I'm definitely not as good as I used to be.
It was a good time, though. That's where we discovered Leinenkugel's beer, because it wasn't in Ohio yet. Like, Leinenkugel's did not exist in Ohio.
And that's kind of when we wanted to start videotaping stuff more seriously and start doing more stuff like this. That kind of jump-started us into not the industry per se, but having an interest in trying to do that.
Because no one back here at home, this is old school at that point. We were some of the only guys bow hunting. Like, bow hunting only took off in maybe the last 10 years here. This was,
definitely younger guys like us. We weren't bow hunting.
Yeah, we're living in Deer Drive Central here. In Northeast Ohio, I guess it's Northeast Ohio, but it's kind of like Central Ohio, and it's just no one was videotaping hunts, no one was bow hunting really, crossbows a little bit, and there were obviously some hardcore guys that were, and they were doing really well, but the general public wasn't bow hunting, so we were kind of getting into that through you guys first, and kind of like started bringing the video camera stuff back here. Now there's like 4 local YouTube channels, like all around, and they're not because of us, but it's just that popular now. Like there's 3 or 4 different outfits within 20 minutes of us that we can get, that we meet up with, because it's such a big thing with social media and the younger generation, and like your guys' podcast like hits right on that, the way things are now. But back then it was a little bit different. Our cameras were definitely potatoes that we were using, like those Walmart.
Yeah, we're using much better cameras nowadays.
That we broke before this podcast.
Yeah, it's all right.
But some of the old guys you guys still have on the show, like Dan Bloodcrick is still on there, I know. Or
Dan and I went. Yeah, Dan and I went to Kentucky and hunted public land in September.
How was that?
Hot as hell.
Yeah.
Yep,
It
that's
was
it.
good. It was good. You know, we saw a deer. Actually, I saw a deer. It was me, Dan, and Kurt, whose hunt you just watched before this.
Yeah.
Guy that shot the piebald buck.
Yeah.
It was the three of us went down there and hunted. And Kurt and I saw a deer. Kurt missed a little buck that he just felt like trying to shoot. And I passed a bunch of does, saw some smaller bucks. There's definitely some good deer in the spot where we were at. Met some other hunters that were in there that had success and killed some good deer. So yeah, we had a good time. I mean, yeah, Dan's still on the team, films for us. Unfortunately, he fell and tore his rotator.
Yeah, I
cuff
saw
a
that.
couple
I
weeks
saw
ago.
it like
I
today.
just saw that today,
He like
too.
made an
Yeah.
announcement about it today or
Yeah.
yesterday on social media or something. But
Yeah, so
he's
he's
like,
gotta
no
have
crossbows,
surgery.
no crossbows.
Yeah, he's
Don't
gonna
don't even
wait-
talk about
He
it.
can wait till he pulls the compound back to start. hunting
Yeah.
again.
Yeah,
I
we
know.
did Kentucky. We did Kentucky Public in 2020. Miserable, 90 degrees, thunderstorms.
Mosquitoes.
Barely saw any deer. Ethan did it this year. 2 days of public, tapped out because it was awful. Got permission on a private farm and almost killed it. He went back a couple weekends actually and almost killed a couple times. He got a deer within like 60, 70 yards. He was on bean fields on private and he loved it, but
Yeah.
the public part was rough. There are deer, but it's just hills.
A lot of
and-
people.
Yeah, he actually made friends. He went in completely blind. Just picked a spot on
Yep.
the map, drove throughout the day, got there at night. 5 trucks at that pull off, and he was planning on camping there, so he like gets out, and these guys had already had a camp set up, and then he ended up hanging out with them all weekend, cooking and hanging out after the hunts, and they gave him some pointers, but because they do it all the time, I guess down there. That group of guys, they were from Ohio actually, so
Yeah.
but yeah, it was a lot of people where he went.
Yeah, it's same with where we went. You know, it wasn't horrible. I mean, there were still opportunities, and I think there's enough room for everybody. Everybody we met was super cool. You know, and all the public stuff I've done, like I never have really had an issue with anybody.
No,
Like, you know, being a dick or anything.
Nope.
Everybody's super cool, respectful. You know, we end up walking in or walking out with guys and just BSing with them and, you know, exchanging phone numbers and maybe texting each other like, hey, are you going to be over here tonight? Or am I good to go in? And, you know, so it's been overwhelmingly, I'd say, positive, you know, in all the different places that I've been to, minus almost getting shot by squirrel hunters in Wisconsin.
yeah, I
But
mean,
other than that, all the deer
Yeah,
guys
you'll
are
have that.
cool.
so actually that was one of my points I was going to bring up and talk about later, but we can go into it. We've done public hunting since about 2020 for whitetails. I think that was the first year we started doing it, besides like as kids, Southern Ohio.
Sure.
But 2020, bow hunting trips public. I don't even think I've ever ran into another hunter in the woods.
Wow,
In
we
all
were
the
actually
states
hunting.
I've been hunting, I have never ran into another hunter, ever. I mean, so you read about how there's, you know, some public lands are
Yeah.
just destroyed and this and that. We do Indiana every year, never see a soul. I mean, we got the entire woods to ourselves every
Yeah, we'll
year.
see
Yeah.
people driving around sometimes, but we also kind of stay away from the high pressure zones. I would
Yeah,
say,
we
too.
try to find, like everyone does though, but we try to find.
Sure.
We actually look for small pieces of public that are surrounded by
Yep.
private, and there's never anyone parked at them, and they're always open. So
And I think because everybody's got the same fear, you're going to pull up and there's going to be somebody there that you can't get away from, right? Because it's only an
Yeah.
80-acre chunk
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So everybody tends to avoid them. I think you're right.
They go to
And
these giant
the access-
1,000-acre pieces.
yeah, because the access is bad for the small ones. You got to park on the side of the road or take a fire trail in, and this and that. Like
Yeah.
the big chunks have beautiful roads, campgrounds, like all of that.
Bathrooms.
And those are
Boat
the ones that
launches.
just get hammered by people. We haven't started doing the boat thing. We have boats we could start with, but we're like, man, it just adds an extra element of shit to deal with.
Yeah, 2 hours of stuff to do before hiking deer stand sounds
Which
Yeah.
is
I
always
know.
like a mile in on public. So you're all, it's just, you guys,
Yeah.
you're a saddle hunter, right?
I am now. I mean, when I first started doing all my public stuff, I was, you know, carrying a full-size lone wolf
60
alpha and a
pounds
set of
worth
4
of shit.
sticks.
Yeah, right.
And all my the first time I went to Kentucky, I think Miller and I went in like 2019 or something like that. And dude, it was 90 degrees and I had 60 pounds of shit on my back, like you said, stands, sticks, all my camera gear.
That's what
you
we're
know, and
still
I'm walking
doing.
up
Yeah, we
a
still do that.
mile, you know, and I'm like, you know, and we did it. It was fine. But yeah, I've gone full saddle boy at this point for all my mobile stuff. and
Yeah,
I'm back.
Ethan, the youngest Ethan, he's full saddle set up the whole 9 yards. He's wearing Cam Hanes camo and, you know, doing that whole thing. But
Dude, I'll never go back for my mobile sets. I mean, I still love a good hang on stand.
right.
And if I'm doing it all day somewhere in the middle of the timber and I want to be, you know, super comfortable, like a big, you know, pre-hung,
Oh, yeah.
trimmed out, like
Right.
fixed position stand is still the best way to go.
Yeah, you
but
just
like,
climb
doing-
up there and you're good to go.
Yeah, but for any mobile stuff I'm doing, dude, screw tree stands. I'm done.
I've been fighting it, but if we're gonna do it, I don't know if I'm gonna do much next year, but if we're gonna do it again, I'm gonna have to start learning how to use the saddle thing probably because 60 pounds of gear in and out. Sometimes I leave it till the next morning because I'll come back, but
Sure.
sometimes if you have a crap sit, you're like, oh man, it's like getting dark. Like I'll take half an hour to tear down and pack up and walk out.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work to be honest with you.
Yeah, and the thing is, like the saddle thing, like I don't know that it's a whole lot less work per se, because you're still hanging your sticks, you're still
Right.
on a platform every time, so it might be a little bit quicker, but you're just carrying less stuff. I'm wearing my saddle in and out that's got, pockets on it, that's got a lot of my crap in it.
Yeah.
Like it is quicker. I don't know that it's substantially quicker, but like you just feel more maneuverable. You're a little bit quieter. You can get into a lot more trees that you can't get into with a stand.
Yeah.
Just opens up a lot of possibilities, and I've really grown to enjoy it. It's also nice even for like my private spots that I hunt here at home. Like if I want to go sit a different side of the farm tonight because the wind's wrong or whatever, like I just grab my saddle and go, and it's made that a lot easier. The other thing I'll do too is during the spring, I'll go prep a bunch of trees for saddle sits like on my private farms. Mm-hmm. And it just allows me that when I do want to bump around to go to different places, it makes it so much quicker.
Yeah.
Like I know it's the tree's trimmed out, it's ready to go. A lot of times I'll leave sticks in the tree, and all I got to do is climb up, hang my platform, and hunt.
We kind of do that here at home too. We have a bunch of trees that have sticks, but no stands. So
no stands.
Because
sure.
There's only so many. Plus, I don't like. We do leave stands year after year after year, but I don't like doing that as much as possible because they start to get built into the tree and
they start to rot,
yeah.
and you got to worry about the cables and straps.
So a lot of places are just sticks
Stuff's
already
eating your seats.
Yeah, pre-hung, and then we'll just go do the stand. But
sure.
Yeah, we haven't fully dove into the saddle. Our group of guys that we hunt with is 8 to 10 people, and only one's using the saddle right now. So we're kind of still kind of archaic.
But all the young kids we talk to, they're all using saddles.
Yeah, all the younger kids. Like we're old guys now, like you're really old and we're old. They're like,
I know, right?
All the teenagers and 20-year-olds are using saddles, and
yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to use one. I had a guy from a saddle company just reach out and be like, he saw me doing like my public stuff, and he like reached out and he was like, "What in the hell are you doing?" I was
what
like,
company was it?
This is fine. What's that?
What company was it?
Tethered.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the one other big company. We hang out with dudes from Latitude, we hang out with dudes from Trophy Line, but we haven't gotten Tethered yet.
Yeah, that's the irony of it. We hunt with guys that like own these saddle companies that we don't even, or work for these saddle companies that we don't even use them. We're lugging around like XOPs and Lone Wolves and Beasts. We got a little bit of everything. We don't follow any one company.
Yeah,
or
my
brand.
Lone Wolf Alpha's still hanging on.
Dude, I was thinking about this the other day. Over the 20 years, we worked with Lone Wolf forever. And I used to pick up a stand or two every year. I'd kind of budget to and granted, I got them at a discount, but I get a stand or two instead of sticks or two like every year. I probably got 20 Lone Wolves spread out, through my different private farms that I hunt. But
they are awesome.
I used to keep like an assault back as like my mobile setup. Mm-hmm. So I had an assault that was like wrapped, paracord, and silenced, and my
it's
sticks
the same way mine is.
Everything was stealth stripped and whatnot, and that was like my mobile setup. And now it's just hanging in a tree, and I never move it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've been there.
So one day we'll try the saddles.
Maybe. Yeah, it took me a little while to get used to it. I think this is my third or fourth. I think I killed a buck in 2020. Actually, my very first sit in a tethered saddle, I killed a buck.
Really?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Tethered's the one that works with THP.
Yeah.
I think that's.
They were like the first. They were kind of like the first big hipster.
Yeah.
Saddle.
They were the guys that like made saddle hunting cool.
Yeah.
Saddle hunting's been around forever, and I can remember on the forums, dude, even back in way 15, 20 years ago, there'd always be like one guy that would like come in and be like, talk about saddle hunting.
Yeah, he's using a longbow and stuff.
Yeah, and everyone's like, you're a freaking weirdo.
He probably works like painting houses or like as a linesman for some company. So like, wait a minute, this is such an easy way to get up.
I don't know what brand it was, but they always had it in the Cabela's catalog. It was just like a cloth type saddle.
There was one, it was called like Guido's Web. It was literally the name of this thing. And but Tethered was the first guys that like came out, had a cool name, made a cool logo, actually made a company like around the mobile saddle thing. when it was really just a kind of a DIY community, and they made a company out. And it's a cool story because, dude, they didn't even want to make a company. They like took all their ideas and went to a tree stand company and tried to pitch them on like, you guys need to do this. And, I don't know what their pitch was, like hire us to be designers or do whatever. And the tree stand company was like, yeah, this is, great, but it's really not something we want to do, and insurance liability and stuff. And he's like, why don't you just start your own company? So they were like, okay.
Yeah, look at them
Yeah,
now.
and look at the industry now. Yeah. Everybody's using it.
It's crazy. It's pretty cool to see. So, and they're good dudes. So
I think that's what meat eaters using too is tether. I can't remember.
Yeah.
A lot of those meat eater guys are using saddles too.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, them and THP are both using. So I think Seek One, when they do saddle stuff, I think they're in a tethered too. So again, they were like the first guys, and they were smart. They went out and got the right people at the right time.
Yeah, I mean that's smart. Like you got to get
the brand,
the demographic of people that are watching that. I mean, it's a huge part of the industry. Like I know I didn't really want to get too much into this in the podcast, but like it used to be Outdoor Network sold you these 5 products, and they were in the Cabela's magazine, and only people who could afford to have the Outdoor Network could see that stuff. And now the world is open. Everything is open. Like
whatever hipsters wearing
information is like right now. You watch it, but he watches a bunch of Western guys that I don't even know their names, and like has all these little things and knickknacks.
They all have mustaches.
Yeah,
they do all.
Because he got into the Western game big, and I've only went on one trip, and I enjoyed it, but it's a different. I don't know if you guys do too much Western stuff. I'm sure you've done some elk hunting stuff, but
I try to make one trip a year out to see Dustin and hunt with him.
I was definitely going to ask about him. He's the first name on the old names to ask about was Dustin.
Yeah. I mean, dude, Dustin, like, honestly, if I had to put together a list of, like, my top couple best friends in this world, he'd be on it.
So you guys are still tight?
Oh, yeah. I talk to him literally every. We have, like, a group text of a couple guys on our team, but Dustin's in it. I mean, I talk to Dustin via text literally every day.
I just sent him a message on Instagram the other day because I'm sitting in my bed, like, Sunday morning watching elk hunting videos, and, like, a Levi Morgan video comes up.
And there's
I'll check that out. Like, boom. Dustin DeCruz's face.
I know that guy.
Shit.
Yeah, I give him a hard time.
I guess he's kind of a bigwig now.
Yeah, now he's huge. He's a real.
The only time of the year I don't talk to Dustin every day is when Levi's in camp.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And starstruck. We have friends like that locally.
His new rich friend is there.
Right.
We love giving him a hard time about it. But yeah, Dustin's actually coming. He'll be in Illinois, I think, next week. So he's actually going to swing by the studio. We got some videos to film. He's going to be a guest on Pinch Point.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
yep,
see, definitely. I tried being a guest on Pinch Point. He says, we're not really doing that.
We're not really doing it. Dustin was coming in to film some videos for BowHunt or Die. We're doing a video on like how to explain the Wyoming preference point system and how it works.
So that you're talking his language now, like
yeah, because it's super complicated. So he's like, why don't I just come in the office in the studio when I'm there? Because his wife, her family's from right up the street here. So they come in for the holidays. So I'm like, well, dude, as long as you're coming to the studio, let's film a podcast since you're going to physically be here.
He's got the perfect personality for it, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's gonna be, that'll be
a good podcast, too, and how Wyoming's screwing all the non-residents now.
Yes, for sure.
It's $952 to hunt an antelope.
Yeah. So we had a trip planned this year, but unfortunately where Dustin's at, they had really bad EHD that just wiped out the whitetails, the mule deer. They had some issues with antelope a couple years ago, so their populations are just like super low. And we ended up canceling our trip because they actually cut the tag allocation in his unit for antelope is what we were going to do. Normally, you don't need any points to draw his unit for antelope, but after they cut the tag allocation, we couldn't draw a tag this year.
Yeah, that's how it's going for me. I'm trying to get my research in to see what tags I'm going to put in for next year, and we pretty much knocked Wyoming off the list just because of all that crazy winter kill and all the stuff they had. Yeah, because you need like 3 extra points for all these units now.
Yeah. I'm thinking I'm going to talk to Dustin when he's here. I'm not sure if I'm going to try to finally do an elk hunt out there next year. I'm sitting on a ton of points. I got a couple guys that want to go with, and they want to go in as a group, and then they average your points out. So I think I'm sitting on 12 or 13 points.
Yeah, so you can when it comes to archery, you can draw pretty much any tag you want, I would think.
Yeah, there's probably a couple units where I'm on the bubble, but the problem is with the guys that want to go with me, they all have like 8 or 9. So by the time you average it brings me down, it brings them up a little bit. So we just got to try to figure out timing and location of what we want to do.
Yeah, tell them you want to be there when Levi is. That's what you want.
That's what I said. I want to hunt Levi's private ranch.
Yeah. You don't need any points for that. You just need a real big checkbook.
But I was going to say I don't have a Levi's checkbook, so I can't afford that.
Yeah, good
Who
old
else is on
W.
your list of forum dudes?
So the rest of the forum dudes I got this here. So I don't know if you ever talked to Quicksilver anymore, Fran. I haven't talked to
No,
him
he
in
was great
probably
though.
10 years, man. He was like, he's a lawyer or something in
Yeah, he
Pittsburgh,
is.
right?
Yeah.
The other Dan, so like your buddy Dan, not Blood Creek Dan, but like actual Dan Schaefer, right?
Oh, Schaefer. Yeah. I still talk to Dan a couple times a year.
Doesn't he own a grocery store or something? Like
No,
grows his own
they-
veggies
they're
or something?
selling
Gross
that.
squash.
Yeah.
He owns like a trucking company now. Is
Oh,
what he's
okay.
doing.
Moving
So
his-
they were smart, right? They had these grocery stores,
Yeah.
and you had to truck the groceries all in and out, right? So they actually owned a logistics company as well that owned all the trucks that moved all the groceries. They ended up selling the grocery stores off, but keeping the trucking company. So he runs that now. He's like super into like running marathons and shit now.
Really?
Oh, no shit.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
it's
that.
crazy.
Yeah. I haven't seen any of that. I have GM Matt.
G-Matt.
Remember him? He
Oh,
got banned actually. So
He
he
did?
somehow he got banned.
He
like,
was the
long-
hundreds of post a guy or a day guy.
He lived in Pennsylvania and like always shot bucks, but like he was kind of mouthy if I remember.
Yeah, there was a crazy story about him going on a vacation with another forum member and like their wives.
Oh.
And he ended up being like a swinger, and he was trying
Wasn't
to, like,
that
bang the
Rob
other-
or something?
That was Rob.
Yeah.
It was a bunch of drama.
Because he was like a big shot at HNI. Rob was and Christine,
he
your
was
buddy
one of our
Christine.
moderators.
You ever talk to her anymore?
Christine, yeah, a couple times a year.
I
we
still see her
text.
stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, she's out west, right?
She lives in Utah. She tries to get me to come out. Like every year, she texts me, "When are you going to put in and come deer hunt Utah?"
She's with
Kendall is the guy.
John and then John.
but her buddy
Oh,
John.
John Mueller.
Yeah, he
Whatever.
became like a fire rescue guy out there, like the
Yeah,
mountain
he moved
search
out
and
there,
rescue
too.
mountain stuff, and like he's
Yeah.
out there. Yeah,
I still see all their stuff on Facebook.
yeah, those are ones that I actually do see.
Yeah, Christine's hilarious. Like we have a great relationship. She's half Japanese.
Yeah.
So every year on the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, I text her like something really mean.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah,
I remember you
hilarious.
told me she would never sit down in a tree stand,
Dude,
or wear.
it's
I don't think
crazy
she wore
thing.
gloves either.
No,
Just
we
like
went
stand there, like.
together. She would stand the entire time.
Yeah, 'cause
in the-
I think about that sometimes when I'm standing for 5 minutes and my legs get hurt. I remember 20 years ago, Justin Zarr told me that he used to hunt with this woman that would not sit
Yeah,
once.
if I see a deer like 100 yards, I get up, get my bow, camera.
Yeah,
And if
for
it's
sure.
still chilling out there, I'm like, all right, I can sit down.
Not only is she standing the whole time, but she's holding her bow.
Yeah,
Like
that's
the cam is
crazy.
like on the foot, or on the platform, and she's standing there the whole hunt. I've never seen anything like it.
Insane. Well, you hunt with some of the old school guys, even gun hunting. They have their gun like this the whole time, and like
Yeah.
face mask up.
They're ready to go.
It's crazy.
How are you supposed to text on your phone and like scroll through Reddit and stuff if you got all that going on?
You're holding your bow the whole time.
I guess I got two sad ones that I've noticed over the years. Sam and Greg, Greg H
Yeah.
and Sharp Size Sam, they both passed COVID for both, right?
No. So Greg, I believe, had a heart attack
Okay.
and passed away.
He was an absolute forum legend. Like
legend. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Is that Greg
H?
H?
he came, yeah, Greg H. He came to the very first meeting on his motorcycle, or the
Yeah.
meetup on his motorcycle. I met him one time. I remember that, but
Killed
that
a
dude
bunch of
killed.
deer in his day. Yeah, for sure. And then Sam, whose actual name was Dwayne.
Yeah, Dwayne Jones, right?
Yeah, he had cancer.
Oh, really? See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he didn't really tell anybody.
Yeah, right.
People didn't even know he was sick until he died, and they were like, "What the hell happened?" But
Yeah,
yeah,
because I was friends with him on Facebook, and then just one day he was dead,
Yeah.
and I was like,
I
"Whoa!"
think it was prostate cancer, I want to say. But yeah, that was a tough one. That one sucked. Like Dwayne was a good dude.
He was part of your guys' crew, kind of, right?
Yeah, he was part of our crew. He'd come
Yeah.
to ATA with us. Like we went antelope hunting out at Dustin's place one year
Man.
together. We had a blast. He was always a good time.
Not to bring up like dark times, but I remember during COVID on the forums, because there was like a lot of people went back to the forums during COVID because like
Sure.
a lot of people, we were working, but a lot of people weren't doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I remember logging in, and like there was a thread about almost like not like checking up on people, but like news
Yeah.
about members that we hadn't heard of in a while, and like some did die of COVID, and like they
Yeah.
found like they would find obituaries and stuff like, oh, this
Yeah.
person he hasn't posted in a year because he died of COVID, or
Yeah.
it was kind of morbid, but I remember reading some of that stuff. And then the Greg
Yeah.
thing was just sad because
That's how you know you're getting old, though, and like people are dying. That like you're like, I've known this dude on the internet for 10 years. You know?
so how about I got a young one for you, the last one, and then unless I'm forgetting,
I got
some.
another one to ask about, but we'll go
All right,
first.
the last one's a young one. Do you remember Stephen McBee on there? Obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like big time now.
Yes.
Like hunting with Bomars and Drury and
Donald Trump Jr.
and Donald Trump Jr. and he owns
Dude.
his family owns like the biggest farm in the world, and he's on The Bachelor or something. Like that dude is all over the world. And it's funny, I'd be sitting there at work and like a commercial would come on for his whatever Cowboys and whatever his show was, where he was like a bachelor, and it'd be on the TV. I'd be sitting there and I'm like, I knew that guy back in the day. And they're like,
Back
what
in
are
the
you
day.
What are you talking about? I'm like, well, it's kind of hard to explain, but the guy was back in the
forums.
Yeah, we were internet friends.
Yeah, nobody knows what that even is. I
Yeah.
was gonna ask about
Crazy.
Fergie.
Oh, his buddy Fergie.
Fergus?
Yeah, whatever happened to him?
Old Fergie. He's still around. I see his posts every once in a while. I haven't run into him in a while. He's migrated. Instead of trying to be a professional hunter, he's trying to be a professional fisherman now.
Yeah, so I was.
I
Just saying,
remember he was
think
like a bike rider or something, but like
Oh my, he was
wasn't
the guy
exactly built for the bike riding.
that finished the Iron Man.
Yeah, I got some video footage of that stuff. Every once in a while, I tear up my old video. Like I have an old hard drive, and I'll get on there and I'll just look at this stuff. Like I was thinking about doing a short intro with some of the old video before this.
We still
podcast.
so there's a video of Fergus swimming across the pond.
Oh yeah, I got
Right?
that somewhere.
Oh yeah.
And then there
There's
was the other guy, Seven Mag, like the same night. Or
I don't know whatever happened to him.
Yeah, he
I
got
think after that night of drunken debauchery, he like just vanished and never came back around.
man. We were young kids and we could still hold our alcohol better than
Yeah,
old guys
yeah.
could back then.
There's a
But-
video similar too of Miller when he was out there when he like you guys were playing football and he slammed the football on the ground
Yep.
and it popped up at him.
I'll find that for the intro to this podcast. I'll do
That's
like
a
a little
great
1
video.
minute highlight for the intro for this podcast, and I'll find that one. But his buck was pretty cool this year.
Yeah,
You guys made
yeah,
it look
that
like it was a 200. Then you told me the score, and I was like, no way, come
Yeah.
on.
He would have been a 200 if we let him live. Honestly, man, I think that deer was a Magnum 3-year-old.
Really.
I believe it was.
We kind of have one of those now. It's a buck that we could have killed a few times. He came on the farm. He was in the farm in the summer, and then during the rut, he came through a couple times. And I'm definitely probably going to shoot him because he's like a low 150s, high 140s, 10. But I think he's a 3-year-old, and if he lives till next year, he's going to be insane.
Yeah, that's how this deer that Miller had was. Like, he's got a shed off him from last year. And I'm like, dude, this is a 2-year-old, spindly, long tines, you know. And he put on a lot this year. I think his typical frame without the kicker went like high 50s. And then he had a big kicker. So I think he went like 162, 163, something like that. You know, but that deer had, like,
The
if he
side
made it another
profile.
2 years, like,
Yeah.
well, 200s, right? I mean, just had the, but I mean, how do you let a 165 almost inch
I
deer?
would not be able to.
No,
I'm
no, never.
past that.
Like
Not around here. No way.
we kind of, for our home farm now, especially since every one of us brothers has killed deer and stuff, it's at the point where it's like, it's going to be a 4-year-old for us to shoot it. And sometimes those 4-year-olds are 150 class, and sometimes they're 120 class. Like we know just because of living here forever, you kind of, get to know these deer. But there are those outliers that sometimes we're like, man, I don't know if that deer's 3 or 4, and he's like 140s, 150 maybe, and it's like, man, what do you do? Because if he walks by you, the pressure around here is insane too, by the way. I mean, similar probably to where you're at. Like, all the neighbors know every deer, and every neighbor has every deer every night on trail camera, just like we do. So, like, I'll have a buck on trail camera, and 2 other neighbors will too, and we'll text back and forth, and it's like, they're not going to pass him. And I know it's like, you're the neighbor if you don't pass him, but I don't want to go 10 years without shooting a buck.
Yeah.
Because I let a bunch of possible 4-year-olds go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care that much about shooting older bucks to be that guy.
A lot of these 3 and 4-year-olds were letting get older because we never got that opportunity at him, or because nobody else ever got that opportunity at him.
Yeah, it's not like I passed him. I just never got to shoot him.
Every once in a while, there's a deer
We
I
could
can
say, oh yeah,
claim-
we let that deer live
yeah.
because he never came, close enough.
That 110 point that I wanted to kill this year that I had in range and that you slept in the one night and morning and could have killed him. That one I did pass last year because he was probably only like 110-inch 3-year-old, but he was heavy.
Yep.
He was a heavy 110-inch 3-year-old with like just starting his G4s. This year he came back and he's probably like mid 140s, maybe even low 150s because he's so heavy and he's got G4s on both sides, almost identical rack but bigger. And we tried hard to kill him, and he was only here during the rut and then he left or got killed. He left during youth gun season. Is when the last time we saw him, so he could be dead, but it was a good deer.
A lot of times I say they're like those good young deer that I don't want to run into because it's like I know I'm gonna have a real hard time.
You don't want
passing
to. You don't want to be
So,
tempted by him.
Yeah, I'd rather just not see them at all.
That's a deer you want to see when
at
you're
a
hunting
distance.
public land out of state.
Right.
You know, that's
Exactly.
we have this debate amongst our group all the time. Like, you know, you're going to pass the 130-inch potential 3-year-old at home, 100%, right? But
Yeah.
if you're in Kentucky on public land and he's in velvet,
shoot.
or if, yeah,
I'm
you're
shooting that deer all day long.
Yeah,
Some
no
of-
way are you passing that.
Some of our friends though are like, "Oh, you're hypocrites," and you know, like, why would you pass that? And I'm like, because it's just you're entering a different world. It's a different world.
Yeah.
Especially if you're only hunting for 5 days and not 365.
Sure. Yeah, 100%, man. You got to set your expectations somewhat realistic.
Right.
You
like-
know, otherwise, like you said, you're going to go 10 years without shooting anything.
Yeah, I'm just not in. Like some guys are okay with that too. Like, oh, I'm only gonna shoot a buck bigger than my last one. And there's gaps, but like me, I just like hunting, so I want to kill a buck every year. A good one.
Yeah.
Just a good buck. It doesn't have to be nothing crazy.
Yeah, we like
You
hunting.
know.
We like killing.
So speaking of, I was cruising through your stuff today. I did watch your hunt where you killed this year,
Yep.
where you moved stands and stuff. So you had a pretty good season. Just one buck.
Yeah, just that one. You know, I had a couple close calls with some bucks here at home that I really would have liked to kill. One of them's a big 8-year-old deer. He's still alive. My buddy Mike Willand actually backstrapped him in late October.
What was
Didn't
his
kill him.
What was his handle on the page?
What was he? Duke Michaels.
Duke Michaels. Oh,
Yeah.
that brings up something. Perfect timing. One of my buddies, he's incredibly jealous of my old beanie because I actually have 2 of them, the Duke Michaels edition beanie
Yeah.
I've had forever. And he asked me whenever I talk to you again, and this was a couple of weeks ago, and I just remembered it now. He said, whenever you talk to him again, have him make some more of those and put them on the website.
I think we did at one point. You have to remind me. I think I have one at home. Shoot me a text.
All right, I will.
I think I have one at home.
I'll shoot you a text because he's like, dude, because I have 2 of them, but I'm not letting him know. If he listens to this, he'll know now. But I have 2 of them, but one's in reserve for when this one finally dies. You know.
We did make some new ones not that long ago, but they kind of screwed up the logo. They made it a little bit too big, and I just didn't really like them with that same exact hat.
Yeah.
But yeah, we might do that one again.
So that hat's cool because it keeps my head warm, but you can hear through it.
Yeah.
So like
It's
some
like
of
a
the
knit
thick,
material.
Yeah, some of the thicker ones that like are like in the folded over and stuff, like you can't hear anymore. And I can't see, so I have to rely on my ears. I can hear through that hat, and I always have been, so I always wear it in the winter. But that's just it when you said Duke Michaels, it kind of reminded me. But
Yeah,
that takes
because
me
he
back.
always wore that hat. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Mike shot that 8-year-old buck this year. Hit him high, didn't kill him. He's still around, so I'm hoping, we still got a month or so of season left. Hoping to, chase him a little bit. I've got one other good 4-year-old here at home, or actually 2 other good 4-year-olds, 2 different pieces of property that I'm still kind of chasing here. So we'll see. Yeah, I mean, that deer I killed this year was one of those deer where I was like hemming and hawing whether I was going to shoot him or not when he was coming in. And then I was like, yeah, he looks good enough. And I got 2 tags, so
You guys get 2
shooting him.
tags. Illinois, right? Is that
Yeah.
where you're hunting?
Illinois, yeah. So
Yeah, how does the late season play out? You guys just go to January or?
we go to like middle of January.
Okay, because we go all the way to the first week of February. So a lot of our
Yeah,
deer,
you guys go late.
we
get a
kill
bunch
later
of deer
season.
We get a bunch of deer that'll be shed, by that time. So I'm sure people are shooting shed bucks.
First week in
Oh, yeah.
February, people are shooting a lot of shed bucks. And when you shoot a buck, you can't drag it by the antlers because
Oh, yeah, no.
those
They're
things
gonna
pop
It takes
right
like
off.
4 people to drag these deer out of the woods. Like one guy's holding the head up, and
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, we go till mid-January. So, I got a couple deer that I'm chasing. One of them is just like, he comes through when I'm not there, and then when I'm not there, I don't see him. I saw him like a week ago, and god dang it, I thought that was it. Like he popped out exactly where he was. Like I figured he was going to be. He popped out, and it's like all he had to do was just come out and walk down this trail through the middle of the food plot in front of me, and he came out and he fed for a couple minutes, and then turned around and just went back. And I was like, "What the hell?"
Oh, yeah.
Like, god damn it.
I can I can fully relate because I had a buck on the farm this year. It was not a deer that I was planning on being able to hunt. There was a deer that was local, very big, older, 6-year-old buck. A lot of people had history with him. And he had never been on our farm before. We had one picture on December 6th last year. He came through like the edge of our farm. So it was not a deer I was planning on hunting. We went to Indiana with all these guys for the public land thing that I was trying to get you to come to and you were too cool for. While we were there, he started using our farm daily. I was getting and it was at night at that time, but it was like late October, let's say like the 25th through like the 30th. every night he was hitting scrapes on our farm. Like, man, this is like it's a bonus because I had he was living like a mile and a half away. Like I had no plans on hunting this deer. And then towards the end of our Indiana trip, he started daylighting on our farm. We got back. He was daylight on our farm for at least 2 weeks. There was 5 times where I was in a tree stand and he was daylight on a cell camera at a different stand location, like throughout the farm, 5 different times. And then it started to trail off because I was putting the pressure on, so he started being less and less. And then he kind of disappeared from the farm, but I checked some non-cell cameras, and there was I had some non-cell cameras on video that I didn't check for 3 weeks or a month. Daylight, just cruising through our farm, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, just missed opportunity. I mean, I gave it a good try, but I wasn't in the right spot. And then our, second cousin, half removed twice down the street, a mile and a half, killed him 2 days ago.
Yeah.
He got up out of his bed 2 miles away from our farm and got a good shot on him and finally put the story to rest. So it's pretty cool, but there was a small period where he just, for some reason, was daylight almost every day on our farm.
Yeah,
That's
big,
just such
23-inch wide, 8-point.
Yeah,
God,
six-year-old
split
deer.
brows.
We've been watching them for a long time, but just in the bean fields in the summer. Nothing
Right.
that, you see deer all over the place, and if they actually start using the farm is one thing, and this deer started using the farm. I got some pretty cool trail camera videos that I'll give. They have a YouTube channel. They got it all on film too. So
Oh, nice.
I'll be able to give them all that stuff and they can use it. He actually shot the deer 3 times. He shot it once every year.
Over the
years.
last
3 seasons, he shot him once every year. And then finally this year he killed him. He would shoot just an inch high and skim his back, or an inch low
That's
and
an
skim the
interesting
brisket.
story.
And then he ended up killing him. So that story will be told on their channel. But
Yeah, good for him.
That's pretty cool.
so I guess we can kind of start diving through some stuff real quick. We're actually we've been on for a lot longer than I thought, but you guys are at 200,000 subs, the Bowhunter or Die team. How many guys do you have filming for you?
Around 20, give or take.
Okay. I went through and there was I actually watched some, I was telling you earlier, I watched some of the old videos that I've already seen before just because for nostalgia's sake.
Sure.
But you have these kill shot compilations, 20 kills in 20 minutes. The one has 18 million views.
Ridiculous.
That is how do you, for one, how do you have that monetized, or do you?
We do. I mean, you don't make a ton of money on it because viewing time isn't very long. The crazy thing on that video or any of the compilation videos is I feel like there's more non-hunters watching it than hunters.
Probably,
I think we've been told how evil we are in every possible human language.
Because once it starts getting that reach, that's when the non-hunters start seeing it on their feeds.
Reaches critical mass, and
it's
literally every day.
So
just comments about how evil we are, and we're going to hell, and somebody should hunt us and shoot us, and we're psychopaths, and you name it. So
I clicked on your popular uploads, and the first video had 18 million views. 20 minutes. I'm because we've been fighting the YouTube. The
algorithm.
The YouTube machine. Well, not the algorithm, yes, but the machine of demonetization. The last
limited
ads.
Yeah,
we've been getting hit. Our last video got hit twice, and I finally got it to where now it is monetized. We haven't released it yet, but every year they seem to hammer us on some stuff, and they never tell you what it is. So that was something that was really bothering me. They send you the blanket email drug use and child rape and harming animals. Obviously I hit one of those, which is probably firearm usage, but they were hammering us. And then I was looking at your guys' channel, 18 million views on a kill shot video. Ours would get demonetized like that if someone saw it. But
yeah, well, what's crazy, because none of ours have been demonetized, and you can go on YouTube and find headshot compilations.
Right.
Yeah, the craziest shit.
And those are monetized and still on YouTube.
So
where they're just hammering African game or something, nothing but headshots.
It's crazy.
And they're still monetized. I'm I don't understand YouTube at all.
So our latest video actually doesn't show any kill shots. There's 3 recoveries. So it shows 3 recoveries. No blood in the recoveries. I actually had to grayscale a carcass hanging that we were butchering. We were actually butchering and grinding deer. I had to grayscale that, and it finally I had to do a review. So it limited it right when I uploaded. It's bam, limited ads. Not that we care. It's just I don't care about the money aspect of it. I'm mad because they won't show it to anybody. So you put all this time into making a video.
Yeah, there's no incentive for them to recommend your video if they also can't monetize.
And our audience,
right?
So our audience won't see it unless you send the direct link. And so I was just mad about that. And I finally got it to pass. And I honestly think it's because we were walking around with ARs. So like
Sure.
I honestly think it's because there's scenes where my brother's wearing an AR tactically, for a deer drive, which they're legal here in Ohio. We're using 450 Bushmasters, and I think that is what does it, because
That's what triggers
there's
them.
no kill shots, there's no blood, there's two bucks being butchered. We're just hanging out in the shop, drinking some beers, cutting up a deer. Like, you can't. How can that be demonetized?
But
like,
think of like the hypocrisy of like all the video game play
I
out
know,
there.
yeah,
It is
there's
nothing
little
but
kids out there like
people
bam,
that-
bam, shooting heads off in the commentary they're
Every-
using. Like, it's insane.
It's it's crazy.
And then they
world.
flag us for the blood, but then you have like Bearded Butchers. Almost 2 million subscribers.
Oh yeah.
None of their videos.
And I was going to go
monetized.
right to that. The Bearded Butchers have dead animals on every second of their videos. 2 million subs, huge, massive YouTube channel, like one of the biggest in the world. And they got
we only pay attention to them because they're really lolocal to us.
so
Oh, are they? Yeah, I watched a bunch of their videos.
They're
I
like
think their shit's
literally
great.
25
20
minutes down the
road.
street.
Yeah.
We had a couple of our friends have used their catering, their side job catering for their weddings and stuff, because they're just a local company.
Sure.
But they got
sure.
big nationally because like McAfee and stuff had their seasonings on.
Yeah.
But so what's your future with BowHunt? Like, what are the future plans?
Oh man, that's a great question, because we're kind of going through that discussion right now. Everybody's kind of brainstorming. I really don't know, to be completely honest with you. We're going to try changing a few things up in the next couple of years. We may try splitting off some different channels or different series. We're not 100% really sure yet, exactly what we're going to do. It's kind of in discussion. A few years ago, when Todd Pringnitz passed away, so he had White Knuckle Productions, and then he also had Whitetails Inc.
Yep.
We actually bought the rights to Whitetails Inc. from Todd's wife, Katie. So we've been sitting on that for a few years. We're thinking about maybe resurrecting that series of Whitetails Inc.
Okay.
Because that is really what we like to do is whitetail hunt. BowHunt or Die's been great. It's got a great name. We've been around forever. But like at a certain point, it's like nothing great lasts forever. Unfortunately.
Yeah, and you always want to do something new and something.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at the biggest, television shows in the history of mankind. Like eventually, they just kind of run their course.
We're sitting on the one right now, Yellowstone. No one knows what's happening with the next season of Yellowstone because
right. But Yellowstone's kind of at its peak, right?
Well, but they're done with it. Like they've said that they're done.
Right.
Like it's.
But think about like I always use the example of Walking Dead. Right?
Yeah.
Like Walking Dead at one point was like one of the biggest shows on TV. And it's still going, but like it's a shell of what it used to be.
I don't think anybody watches it anymore. Like I watched it religiously, I don't know, first 3, 4, 5 seasons.
Sure. And then
it's still going. This 10 years later, it's still going.
Yeah. And so again, our some of our discussions are like, maybe we try to do something different, something new, different angle.
Do you wait till you plateau and start going down to start something new, or do you try to start something new when you're up here? Because I'm assuming you guys are still growing pretty rapidly.
It's crazy because like our channel, and this is where I say like I can't figure YouTube out, right? Subscribers are still growing. Like after we hit 100,000, here's the thing that hurt us in the beginning. When we started doing YouTube, nobody knew what the hell YouTube was going to eventually turn into. We were using YouTube as just like, hey, have you seen YouTube? Like put a video over there. And we were using YouTube to promote BowHunt or Die, but we were trying to get people to go to our website or go to our Roku channel to watch it. And, YouTube was like,
yeah, because it's only been the last couple of years you guys have been pushing YouTube, right?
Maybe the last 6 or 7, but I mean, the first 6 or 7, we didn't really do a whole lot.
Yeah, you had like
we
an
kick
app
ourselves every day for not spending the time back then when it was just a hobby. Like, I mean, it's a hobby now. Back then we were just doing whatever. But if we would have grabbed the bull by the horns 14 years ago when we first started posting YouTube videos,
right?
Who's to say what we could have done?
It's like, but hindsight is 2020, right? I mean, that's
yeah.
I cared about beer and girls more back then than YouTube videos. But if we would have cared about YouTube videos a little bit more, then
if we would have cared about. That was one thing I was going to bring up about the forums. I forgot about until right now. Somebody told us on HuntingNet to buy Bitcoin back then.
Oh yeah,
I can't remember who it was.
Oh really?
When it was like $9.
I don't remember.
Hooker.
Something.
It was Hooker.
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Remember that Hooker dude, Matt Hooker?
Yeah.
It was like $10 a coin.
Get on here and buy Bitcoin. It went from like 10 to 60, and obviously we were like 16. We
couldn't even buy it legally, probably. But Yeah, man, we should have bought some
Hilarious.
Bitcoin.
I just
back then.
always remember that when Bitcoin's 60 grand a share.
Because there was like a finance thread, like buy this stock
Right.
today, and it was like, back then Ford was big and everything else was stupid, and this dude's like, no, dude, cryptocurrency. Everyone's like, what?
What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
well, how do I even buy this?
No one even knows what it is now.
That's so crazy. That is insane. Yeah, I forgot about
And that was
Hooker.
all from hunting net.
So a guy
Yeah.
who you run a show, a YouTube channel that's rather large. Do you watch much hunting? Like, do you actually get on and actually ever watch hunting?
I do. I mean, not. I'll tell you, the part of the there was many years where I didn't.
Yeah.
Dude, I would barely watch anything that anybody else was doing, and it's just like I was so inundated with it all the time. It was like I just didn't want to watch it. I'd say the last couple of years I've watched a lot more, partially because my oldest kid, dude, all my kids just live on YouTube. Like YouTube is their life.
Yeah.
That's all they consume. They don't watch TV shows. They don't even watch Netflix or Disney Plus. I mean, it's freaking YouTube. And when my older kid started hunting and he started really getting into, watching hunting videos, I would watch kind of what he had on, and I think more than ever, I probably watch more hunting videos now than I have in a while, dude, there's so much. I can't watch them all. Nobody can.
No,
Jesus,
no,
there's so many.
So what does a teenager that is interested in hunting? What does he watch? Is it Hunting Public? Is it Seek One? Like what are the teenagers watching these days?
You know what, dude? My kid's 11, so he kind of just watches like what pops up in the recommended videos. So he's letting YouTube tell him. For a while, he was watching a lot of Bomar stuff.
Because as soon as you watch one video, then just boom, that's what's all
Yeah.
going to be pushed at
Watching
you.
a lot of Bomar videos back in the day. So, I mean, I remember a few years ago, my kid was watching a bunch of Bomar videos, and he goes, "Dad, how come you don't kill deer as big as Josh Bowman?" He was like 8. I was like, "Thanks, buddy." He's
So,
like, "Did you see Wires?" He's like, "Dad," he was watching the Wires hunt back it was like,
Yeah.
however many years ago. So when
Ohio.
I was at
That's an
ATA
Ohio deer, right?
That's an Ohio deer,
Yeah.
yeah. So when I was at ATA that year, Josh was there carrying that rack around, and I took a picture with him, like, and sent it to my wife to show my kid because he was like super into watching that. So he'll watch that, like, just random stuff pops up on his feed, Deer Society, but he'll go back and watch old Bowhunter Die videos all the time.
See, we do
my
that.
old
We
stuff.
we go watch our old stuff all the time. Just
He'll
'cause
watch
it
his
takes us
old
back.
stuff because he's killed a bunch of deer
Yeah.
on camera now. I'll come home from work and he's like watching his turkey hunt from 3 years ago.
Just randomly.
Yeah.
So, like,
So-
normally when we have guys on the podcast, it's just a bunch of guys like us, just local people talking about whatever, this and that, and just guys we've grown up with. But, like, you're someone who actually, like, spend some time with some of these, like, bigger name hunters. Like, what is your opinion on the whole Bomar thing right now? Because, like, they're one of the 5 hottest topics when it comes to hunting media.
Sure.
With there's the poaching thing, but they have a ton of fans that are, they didn't really poach anything incredibly egregious, but they were brought in with that. Sarah Bomar has her own, I don't even know what you call it. Like, she has her own cult following and her own cult haters, and like
Sure.
her whole thing. And then now with, I don't know, and it's a couple different topics being brought into one, but like, I don't know if you watch Hunter podcast, but they kind of went both ways on Bomar. They were making fun of Bomar for a while, then they had Bomar on, and now they're not quite sure because, and then they started talking about the deer farming. So like guys like me and you, we're hunting smaller farms. 150-inch buck is the world to us. And to
Sure.
Bomar, he deletes the picture. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
Bomar's so like it's a different world. But like, how are the Bomars? I should say. I mean, do you know them well or no?
No, Josh Bomar blocked me on Instagram.
All right, so perfect. We're not really.
Dude, here's the thing though. I met them, the first time I ever met them was during the whole Under Armour fiasco.
Yeah, so that was like
Right?
the first controversy with them way back in the day.
Yeah.
But we were all on their side for that one.
Yeah, no, I wrote an article on bowhunting.com about it, and that's kind of why I met him. I met him at the ATA show. They're super nice. Dude, I don't have anything against them. I'm not the biggest fan of his personality, just in general. I know a lot of people love it. To me, and I go back and forth. I don't know how I feel. He's very high energy dude for sure. I mean, I listened to the whole Hunter podcast that he did because I know Jeremy fairly well. I listened to it while I was actually driving to go out hunting one night out at my lease. It was a couple hours away.
It had to be because it's like 5 hours long. Like that
I
podcast
listened to
is
it
5
there.
hours long.
It was like a 2.5 hour ride either way. I think his story is freaking cool as hell.
Yeah, so everyone says that. Like the story was like his the whole like rise to fame is awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. Like you can't. I mean, you don't get a physique like that, dude, without having just insane drive and discipline and determination.
Steroids,
right?
you know,
and steroids, right?
Right,
but
steroids don't make you look like that. It takes a lot more.
Yeah, you got to have all that other stuff along with the steroids.
You got to be ready to take your shirt off and wrap it around your hand and walk into the ER while being filmed by a crew.
Well, I always
like, come on.
This in my podcast, I was like, dude, if I look like Josh Bomar, I would never wear a shirt either.
That's true. So that that is true. I've had friends tell me that. They've been like, well, if you look like that, you would. I'm like, I guess that's a fair point. But
so yeah, dude, I don't know. Like, I don't love it. I don't hate it. I cherry pick some of the videos that I watch.
Yeah.
I will say this: I liked some of his earlier stuff a little bit better. Seems like he's really transitioned into the deer farm, thing.
So that's kind of what I was going to get at.
And the box blind food plot thing,
yeah.
which to me is the least interesting content to watch on YouTube. But
we've talked about this many times. We hate it.
Yeah,
and we're guilty because we'll do it from time to time. But like, especially bad weather, rainy days, like because we want to hunt. But like Drury and
like this stuff's been going on for 30 years. Just box blind, redneck blind, food plot, giant buck. Like
Lakowski,
you can watch 1,000 of those videos and they're all the same.
Bomar, they go sit in there. The sound is bad because it's like there's no cinematography to it, and then like.
But you can see what
Hog.
A crazy person he is. I forgot what buck it was because he names them all whatever dumb names. But I was watching the one. And he's like, it was nothing but box blind hunts from start to finish.
Yeah, it was this last one that he did where he had another 200-inch buck that he wanted to let go that was in the frame when he shot the 200-inch buck, and his cameraman was focused on the wrong 200-inch buck, but the shot still made like he got the shot, but like there was two. But you're right. Like every interview was just
hunting. He's in these box blinds like early season, and he's just sweating like a pig, dude. Yeah, because they got all the windows closed.
I don't like
such a crazy person.
I just didn't like the wind. He's like, oh, he's back here behind this window. Like, let's pull this window down. Like shifting. Like the drama was just, I don't know.
I can't believe.
You gotta kind of create some drama if you're gonna tell a good story.
I mean, that's what he thrives on. He loves it. Like he loves that people talk about it.
He loves it, dude. But he seems like he's very sensitive to stuff. He bans people a ton. They delete negative comments a ton.
See, you can't do that. You gotta let those negative comments
I just feel like
fly.
Dude, if you're gonna be in the public eye and be that controversial, like just don't read the comments, right?
There's two things that drive me insane with them. One, it's their recovery when they come up to the deer. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh, once in a life, and it's like it's the 180 that he's already shot 3 this year. Like. This isn't a special day. Like,
yeah.
What do you mean you can't believe it? That this is what was going to happen.
What I've mentioned this in my podcast once. What kind of annoys me about his personality a little bit is his need to quantify everything.
Yeah.
He's very driven by the score of the deer, the number of points it has. Every video is my most massive buck, my biggest typical, my biggest brow tines killed in Illinois.
The biggest controversy this year was this buck would have been 200 if it didn't break his tines off.
Break his stuff off. Yeah. Again, like, dude, you can't take anything away from the guy. He's a freaking killer. He's a businessman, electric personality, like just driven probably beyond belief. Like I wish I had half the drive that he's got. Love him or hate him, dude. He's one of the biggest things going out there right now.
Yeah, 2 assholes in a basement are talking about him. Right
yeah, dude.
That is true. We all kind of, like me and my friend group in our little inner circle, we agreed that we liked him more after the Hunter podcast. So like up to the Hunter podcast, it was like, oh my God, Josh Bomar's on there. Like those, and the Hunter guys would kind of trash him prior to that. So I was very interested to see what it was like. And then we watched it. And I'm like, this guy, I guess he's not so bad. And then burns his truck, shirtless, hand ER, adding points to deer.
Yeah, but I mean, none of that should have come as a surprise to any of us.
No, you're right. You're right.
The 21 world records in Africa thing. What?
Oh yeah, that drives. Yeah, Sarah could smash a stink bug in Africa and she'd be the first white woman to do it. So she holds the world record now.
But that's the whole quantifying thing that I'm talking about. Like the need to put a label on everything. Yeah, and maybe it's just a shtick. Maybe it's not. Like, dude, it's hard to say.
He's part of the Jim Bro crowd, and working in the fire service, me and him both, we're surrounded by gym bros all the time, and we're just hillbillies who drink beer, right? But we got gym bros everywhere, and their personality is perfectly matched to what Bomar puts on for the hunting crowd, so it makes a lot of sense.
And it's such a huge the fitness fad right now.
Right,
so he's playing into that hugely.
Arnold Classic
Yeah,
in
for
Columbus.
sure.
A lot of the guys that I work with have met Josh or seen Josh and Sarah through bodybuilding stuff, not even knowing that they even
That they
had.
hunt. Yeah.
You know, because
Dude, he is a gargantuan human being.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's a big dude. God damn.
So,
You know.
we'll just, I guess we'll just keep rolling through. We were talking about Hunter. I was going to ask you, like, you know, you're enjoying the Pinch Point. Obviously, you like your podcast. We've started to really enjoy the podcast too. It's like kind of a fun thing to do. What podcast do you listen to? You know, what are your go-tos?
Dude, I listen to a lot of non-hunting podcasts, to be honest with you. When I do listen to hunting podcasts, I listen to Hunter podcast a decent amount. You know, I've known Jeremy for quite a while. You know, he owned a marketing company, and I think maybe still does. So we would run into each other. Like, he did a lot of work for clients that we were building websites for, and he built websites. So, like, we've known each other since, well, like way before he started his podcast. I've known him for years. So I thought it was interesting when he started it. So I listened to that. I'll listen to Seek Ones when they do a podcast here and there. I'll listen to that one. I listen to Dan. I mean, Dan Johnson and I have been good friends for a long time. So I'll listen to Dan, you know, Nine Finger Chronicles from time to time when he's got certain people on.
Yeah.
I like Dan quite a bit. Those are kind of my go-tos on the hunting side. Like I said, I listen to a lot of non-hunting podcasts, you know.
Do you ever listen to, like, so do you listen to any of the meat eater stuff? Like, there's like 10, you know, they have like 10 different podcasts.
Occasionally, like, Kenyon doesn't really interest me all that much anymore. I love Mark. I think he's a good dude. I listened to so much Wired to Hunt back in the day when he was kind of the only hunting podcast that I just, you know, it's probably like people watching Bowhunter Die. It's like, dude, it ran its course. I've moved on to the next thing.
So I'm a huge sucker for bear grease. Like, I love,
dude,
like, just because, and a lot of it's not hunting, you know, it's like history and life and stuff. Like, the Bear Grease podcast is just a good listen.
The way he talks, the way they storytell, like, I enjoy that. I like Ranella he's such a smart dude. Like, and he's pretty funny. So I like listening to Steve when he's got the right guests, you know, and he's doing
that's like a Rogan thing. And I guess I could throw in a Hunter thing. I don't listen to Meat Eater regularly. I don't listen to Rogan regularly, and I don't listen to Hunter regularly. But they get the guests, so when they have the right person, Hunter especially, like Hunter can get anyone. Like they have been able, and I don't know if they're paying them or if they're just insider connections, but like they always get the best guests. I mean, you can get every year you get one or two Bill Winkies, one or two Mark Jury podcasts. I mean, they get everyone on Hunter. So like we all tune in when they're, you know, I'm not a regular listener, but I can appreciate what they're have been able to accomplish over there with their guests because it's just top-notch stuff, and they're good.
Yeah,
you know?
Yep, I agree.
So I'm gonna get into the rapid fire stuff since we're at the hour mark, like just kind of the stuff I want to get some quick opinions on, and we'll just start with one of the last Hunter podcasts, and it's kind of a big deal on the social media thing, and I don't know if you've talked about it yet in Pinch Point, but all these possible world records coming out of Ohio. Have you guys touched any of this? Because there's actually 3 different bucks over 200 inches typical that have been killed. The one's been talked about a lot, and they had him on Hunter. There's another one that was like 20 minutes south of us that hasn't been talked about much, but it it netted 208, and that's been kind of quiet, but it was on there. And then there was one more that I can't exactly remember where, but like all these world records, these potential world records are hitting the airwaves right now from Ohio this year. Have you guys talked about any of that on your podcast? Or
I haven't. I've been keeping an eye on it in the background. Like I listened to the Hunter podcast. I didn't watch that one. I've seen the out clips of it where they're just holding the rack. And good Lord, the frame on that.
Yeah, they do really well with like the Instagram reels from the Hunter podcast. Like
I don't know that deer is gonna be the world record.
He's got shared base on the one side. I mean, it's
pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's the one thing with all these records that they're posting. They're like, oh, it's possible, typical, and you can see there's one thing wrong with them. If there's a shared base and two 12-inch tines, there goes your.
I was like, there may have been an argument on the king buck, but on that one, I don't think there's.
People get mad about the king buck, but
But you bring up the book and it's
pretty cool.
Yeah,
Hell
so
of a deer.
we bought or got the Boone and Crockett like scoring book, just so when we score deer, we can kind of have a better idea. And it's like crazy, the rules. And
there's
a lot of stuff people don't know about scoring deer.
Sure.
There's a couple rules that people don't know about when it comes to the shared bases and the figure eights, like and how
Right.
that score kind of ends up.
So I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if it's a big thing where you guys are, but here in Ohio, all of a sudden, Buckmaster scoring is the biggest thing going. Like everyone's
Really?
entering their buck and
It's
Buckmasters.
insane.
It's insane, and because like you need maybe I'll invite you to some of these like groups where they like talk about these deer, like Trophy Bucks of Ohio is one, and they just post these like massive deer. But the Buckmaster scoring became this huge thing, and it's weird because their scores are so different, and it's
Yes.
not. They're different for the bigger, which doesn't. We haven't been able to figure out how this
And
makes sense.
when I read the rules, when I like compare those to the Boone and Crockett, when it comes to, we're talking about gross scores here, not net
Yeah,
scores.
yeah.
Their gross score ruling, as far as I can tell, should be the same as Boone and Crockett.
but it's
Yet
not.
when they're scoring these deer, they're getting 10, 15, 12 inches.
Yeah, there's dudes posting
larger.
like 160 inch, 10 points, and they're like 179 BTR, and it's just like how we don't know how these numbers are coming up. There's been like
I
20
can't say
bucks
I've
in
ever
Ohio.
really looked at it.
Yeah, there's been like 20 bucks in Ohio over 200 BTR this year. Like
I
it's
felt like the
insane.
Buckmaster's system was like the XFL.
That's how we. So
Like, it was-
we grew
It
up
was
that
there,
way too.
But I was like, does anybody care about this?
So we grew up that way, and it's just becoming a huge thing locally here in Ohio. Like Buckmasters is where you went when you got mad about your deductions. So you're like, I'm gonna go take my buck over here. But like they're doing like panel scoring now, where you have like your Boone and Crockett or your Ohio Big Buck score, and then your Buckmaster score. And the Buckmaster's gross score is always like 15 inches bigger, and we don't understand how. But it's like
I think it's
Have
just
you guys
marketing.
had any of your deer like officially scored and entered into a record book?
officially scored yes, entered no. Like we've had some local contests where we had to have like Ohio Buckeye Big Buck Club come out and they're certified and they'll measure it and then.
Right, but you're not actually submitting it.
No,
to
I've
a
never paid the
record
money
book.
to submit.
I never have either.
If I had a world record, I would. And if I had a string of 170s, maybe I would. But like that's not what I got going on back there. So like,
I got a wall full of 135s.
yes, it's same.
Yeah, look at them. While
Yeah, you got 146, 135, 128. Like that's
Yeah.
just the way it is. But
I didn't even know that was a thing that was gaining in popularity.
oh,
That's-
look, when you get a
it-
chance,
it-
if you want something for your content for your show, look up Buckmaster
And I
scoring
think
lately.
a problem is it's locally because that Toby dude.
Yeah, there's a major score for Buckmaster.
That lives
One of their
around
lead
here.
scores is kind of local, like within a couple hours. So like tons of people are taking his deer there. And I didn't know this either. This is a new thing to me. We have like a local contest we've had, and we had to have someone come measure these deer that's like not included in the contest, like a third party person measure. So we started having the Ohio Buckeye Big Buck Club come out, and they have the
Yep.
ability to enter into that and like Boone and Crockett, Pope and Young, because those guys are usually scores for all three. There's major competition. Like it's like Pepsi and Coke. So like Buckmasters and Pope and Young and Buckmasters and Boone and Crockett, they're like enemies, and they're like fighting for members, and like
Sure.
like it's this big thing that I didn't know existed. So like we actually had the Ohio Buckeye Big Buck Club in our last banquet get mad at us because no one entered their deer. I'm like, well, it's $20 and no one cares about the record books. They're like, oh, we need numbers, like Buckmasters this and that. I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing. So sorry
Wow.
for stepping on your toes, man. But like, I guess it's a big deal in the record scoring world,
Interesting.
My next point, this would be a fun one because I know you guys do some, but I don't know how much you do. It's huge in Ohio right now. Big topic: city hunting or suburb hunting, like outside of the suburb hunting. It's kind of ruined. To backtrack, these contests that we've been doing, we would do these local contests, like a couple counties would have contests, big buck contests. Winner gets some money and bragging rights, trophy, all this kind of thing. It was fun for a couple of years. Well, they started opening a lot of city hunting in some of these counties around us and the suburb hunting, and there's dudes killing 200 class bucks every year. Seek One style. So I'll bring up Lee Ellis and the Seek One thing.
Yep.
It's played a huge role locally. I mean, we live just outside of the Cleveland suburb area, so everything north of us, massive
yeah,
suburbs.
we
of
drive
Cleveland.
20 minutes and you're in massive suburbs.
Yeah, so
basically.
massive suburbs of Cleveland, and we're still hunting farm deer that are spread out, traveling 2, 3, 4 miles a day, this whole 9 yards. You go just 25 minutes north, there's dudes killing 180-inch bucks that are eating, rhododendron bushes and hostas and grandma's bird seed. The whole Seek One thing, hunting in backyards is hugely common. It's ruined our local contests because unless you're shooting 180-inch plus buck, you're out of everything.
Sure.
And it's kind of a big thing here. There's places where this is not anything. Go to Iowa, who cares, right? The world's different. But you guys do a lot of suburb type hunting, I'm assuming, in Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, you've been out here. I mean, we're pretty close to Chicago. We're very
Right.
much like you. I mean, we're right on the cusp of the suburbs. I always say everything east of us is concrete and everything west of us is cornfields.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, a couple of my spots are suburbs right up on highways and dogs
I hear the
barking and
highways in the
trespassing.
background when you guys are hunting. You
Yeah.
can hear it. Like,
So, but I think, there is a difference between like semi suburbs and like in the city hunting,
Yeah, and that's a big
right?
thing around here because you would imagine in today's society that would be coming less. Like city hunting, they'd be outlawing it. But we just had the major city that we're closest to this year passed a resolution to allow hunting in the city now for the first time ever.
Right.
So we're actually
Well,
going
probably
in the
because the deer
opposite.
population.
oh, it's
is-
not. It's in. Yeah, you
Crazy.
drive down the road during the rut, and you got to like just stop because there's bucks and
Yeah.
does. Just
Yeah.
you know.
So, I mean, I don't really have an opinion on it per se. I mean, I know some guys here locally that are, dude, they're very much like Lee and Seek One. Like, they're in little tiny spots that are butting up to areas that are off limits to hunting, forest preserves or state parks or whatever the case may be. And they're just waiting for them to, like you said, come out of the, preserve into somebody's backyard. They own 2, 3, 4 acres and they're whacking them, and the guy's got a wall full of, Boone and Crockett deer that he's killed, and that's pretty common.
You can't bait in Illinois, right?
Nope.
So that was
Nope.
the next,
That's the big
that was the
difference
next
here.
thing I was going to bring
Okay.
up. In
Yeah,
Ohio,
it is the big difference.
you can
'Cause I
back up
talked
the
about-
gravity wagon and put down 10,000 pounds of corn, and you will get that buck to come out. I mean, he will.
There's
Like,
there's no waiting for that buck to come
Yeah,
out.
I mean-
He's coming
Yeah,
out.
no. Yeah, no, I said that about that buck that Lee killed. I was like, I know he was on his little 4 acres that his buddies bought and let him hunt, but like that deer wasn't going into that little 4 acres because it wanted to live there, right? There was bait in there.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
I mean, I did enjoy the video because,
Dude,
like,
it's one of the
Because it was a
coolest
well-made
freaking
video.
it was well made
stories.
video. I did enjoy it, but like he shot the deer and like it was squirting blood on scaffolding that was like left in the like it was like old
I know.
abandoned scaffolding. Like that's just not for me. It's just
and
not
that's
for
what-
me.
It's not for me. It's not why I do it. Back in the day, it used to be, and it still is for guys like us. We got a piece of property that we hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever deer shows up, that's the deer that we're trying to hunt.
Yep.
The biggest, most mature, oldest, whatever.
Right.
Now it's become this like Seek One that we're literally going out and we're trying to find a deer somewhere and then find a way to kill it.
That's become
Right.
popular here. People will have like scouts, like they'll get in with mail people,
Sure.
UPS drivers. They'll be scouring forums and like they will find the deer and then go in and get and
And
kill.
I always say, like, all for what? Like, what's it for in the end?
Yeah,
bigger dick.
Yeah, we're
bigger dick.
we're kind of on the same page. It's so weird that people are hunting deer instead of properties now. They're
Right.
they're finding deer and then finding a way to hunt it instead
Right.
of the other way
Yes.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
it
finding
used to be-
properties and then hunting the deer on the properties.
Yeah,
Hoping
yeah.
someone shows up
Yeah,
instead
hoping
of.
a deer shows up.
I mean, I guess it's just maybe we just look at it the wrong way, but I don't.
Sometimes I feel that we do look at it the wrong way. Like I have nothing against them. That's just not for me. That's not my thing. Like so much of what I do, and I talked to my buddy Tommy about this. So much of my hunting that I do, I try to get away from the city. I'm going west. I'm going south. These guys are going into it, which to me is always just taken away from the experience. Whether I
Yes.
kill a big buck or not, it's just like,
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive to what we want to do.
Well, our favorite place to hunt in the world is our buddy's cabin in West Virginia that we've become part of. And it is as far from the city as you could possibly get. I mean, it's as far as you could possibly get from the city. And it's just awesome. You go outside at night and you can see stars in every direction and you're not hearing any road sounds.
yes.
I don't know. I know there's a place for the hunting in the city. It's just not my thing. I don't like when guys that hunt in the city, the one thing that bothers me the most, this is the only thing that bugs me, is when they brag and they make it seem like you are not on the same level or good or whatever it is. Why aren't you killing 180-inch bucks every year? It's like, dude,
Sounds like my kid.
Because there isn't one. There isn't a 180-inch buck,
Yeah,
And that's just kind of a big thing. Are you guys a crossbow state?
we are. Yep. As of it's probably been more than a couple years. I got a Facebook memory popped up that 11 years ago today, was my first crossbow hunt. I took a crossbow down to Clinton's place in central Illinois. Our first couple years of crossbows, we could only use them after gun season.
See, I kind of like that.
So, and then eventually they opened it up to the full archery season. So yeah, 11 years ago, I took a crossbow out and tried to shoot a deer and didn't kill one. So we've probably had legal crossbows like full season for probably, gosh, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years, something like that now.
Yeah, so we kill more deer in Ohio with crossbows than any other weapon.
We're getting to be that way. And I think most states that are fully legal to crossbows will end up that way in the end.
I don't hunt with a crossbow, and I don't really have a problem with people crossbow hunting. My problem with it, and we've talked about this on some of our other podcasts, is it has increased the slop of hunting. And
sure.
I guess that's just a way of saying, like, now that people have anyone can hunt the whole entire season and they think they have a gun. And the thing is, they don't have a gun. So there is a lot of wounded deer, and that's going to go into my next thing I'm going to talk about. There's a lot of wounded deer. There's a lot of not being able to recover deer. There's just a lot of improper shots being taken place because they got this trigger that can shoot 500 feet per second, and it's just, I don't know. It's just it's introduced some things that are.
I wish there was more responsibility around the messaging of crossbows. I feel like some of the crossbow companies that have marketed their bows as long range hunting weapons did a disservice to everybody because it got these guys that didn't know any better thinking that they could do it. Like, I don't give a shit if somebody wants to use one. I think there's an argument that people make that it like takes away from the experience and it's not as hard. And it's like, dude, I don't care what somebody else does. You know, I will worry about myself and my own experience and what I want to get out of hunting. You guys worry about yourselves. I agree with you that it's kind of increased some of the slop, but there's also an argument on the flip side of that where, like, there's plenty of sloppy compound hunters that wouldn't pick up the bow until the night before the season and screw on broadheads and go hunting that were wounding deer. Maybe those guys are more accurate now with a crossbow.
Maybe.
So it's like,
that's true.
I got a sloppy neighbor. Do I want him being sloppy with a crossbow or being sloppy with a compound? Like,
yeah,
I don't really know the answer.
I like how it gets the kids involved. I like how it extends people's hunting careers. I like how we have guys on our crew that, they're weekend warriors because they don't work a fantasy job like we do, and they have to work 9 to 5 every day and have kids. So, like, they can't get out and practice and be as into deer hunting as we are, but they still have the ability to get out on the weekends shooting their crossbow. So, like, there's good and bad, and it's just.
And I think it's just a messaging. I think it's an education thing.
The hunter education thing.
I mean, not just the hunter education. I think just us as a community of educating our fellow hunters on what they should and shouldn't be doing.
Social media has made that worse because everyone wants the buck. They got the trail cam pictures of it, the sheds of it. They want to be able to make their post so they're taking the shot, like, almost no matter what.
Yeah, there's this mentality of just get an arrow in them.
Right.
I've been saying that for a long time. Yep. That's just the mentality.
Get an arrow in
them.
It's
easy to post the grip and grin.
Yep.
When you don't have to answer for how you did it.
So, just going straight into the next thing, drones are huge here now. Like, they're taking off here because of the drone deer recovery, and we got like local people already that are doing it. It has become. Can you still hear me? Isaac's messing with the laptop.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, you can hear me.
So, like, drones are becoming a huge thing. I actually was involved. I got to watch a drone recovery attempt during gun season, and there's a lot of people that are against the drone recovery stuff. I'm not necessarily against the drone recovery, but we found every deer. The drone operator found every single buck in the block in like an hour using the drone, like during the daytime. They're going to have to come up with something to make it. I don't know what you would do and how you would do it, but to be able to find every shooter buck laying in his bed. I mean, they just flew up. Oh, there's a spot. Yep, that buck's laying in his bed. Fly another 150 yards. Oh, there's a buck laying in his bed. I know where every buck's been tonight. I know where every buck has been tonight. Like,
and according to them, it's perfectly legal for us to do that and then go out hunting.
Yeah, as long as you land the drone, now we can go. And it's like, man, I don't know if I like this at all.
Yeah, I think so. Interestingly enough, today's episode of Pinch Point that came out about 2 hours ago, we talked a lot about this because there was a guy in Pennsylvania, a drone operator, that had his drone confiscated by the Pennsylvania Game Commission while he was trying to locate a deer. Mm-hmm. And so there's the controversy over whether trying to locate a dead deer actually constitutes hunting and part of the hunt. Yeah. Because when you look at laws, there's not a universal application of the law. You can't hunt after dark,
right?
But you can go recover your animal after dark, right?
Without a weapon.
you can't hunt on Sunday in Pennsylvania, but if you shoot a deer on Saturday, you can go look for it on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no universal application of the law as it comes to recovery. When it comes to what you're talking about, locating a deer and go shooting it, there was a case in Louisiana recently where some guys did that. They took a drone up, found a deer, then they went out and poached the deer with a gun. And they got busted, confiscated the drone, confiscated the gun, the deer, the whole thing. So, there probably needs to be some sort of legislation both to clarify the legalities of finding a wounded and potentially dead animal.
Yeah.
And then some sort of time period in which you cannot hunt after having flown
Right.
or been party to flying a drone. Much like Alaska has. When you fly into Alaska, you cannot hunt that day.
Yep.
Yeah, you have
Right.
to wait till the next day.
Correct.
See, I would love something like
drones
that.
should be the same way. The problem with that is enforcing it.
Yeah, just
Right.
I'm going to go back to baiting.
It's-
Baiting, if they would cancel baiting, and if they would make baiting illegal in Ohio tomorrow, people are still going to do it. If you
Sure.
go back and watch hunting TV 25 years ago, people were baiting in states where it was allowed or maybe not allowed. People were baiting and just not showing it on camera. It was a big
course.
part of the outdoor industry. You could watch these old videos and be like, "Wow, that deer sure likes that log." Like,
Oh yeah, the feeding behind the log was the
so
most common
they
one.
were doing that stuff then, hiding the bait, not getting in trouble because it wasn't that big. No one was really
Most of the time
trying
in those
to-
cases, I think it was states where it was legal. It was like Kansas a lot. I remember
They
It was
just
like
didn't want to
legal.
show it.
They just didn't want to show it.
So
know?
fast forward to now. Hunting is a lot of guys' livelihood, especially social media guys that have
Sure.
the means. You're telling me they don't have a $9,000 drone operator, like using it to find these bucks before they go out? I see that this has probably been going on for a couple years without us knowing. You're telling me a guy that, and I'm not going to say any names or name any outfits, but people that have this massive success have a very cheap way of finding every buck before they hunt legally, because you can fly it, find it, drop it, and hunt. You're telling me they're not doing that? Oh man, I can't believe you showed up out of this thicket today.
Can you do that though? I mean,
Yes.
is
In
that
Ohio? You can fly it, land it, and then pursue. So you can find them
because I
in
know
their
like
beds.
the law in like Illinois is that you can't use it for hunting, which I would say like that is clearly using it for the purpose of hunting.
Once it's landed, you're
Locating
not
the-
using it.
Yeah, it's in our law. It's like you can't use it in the process of hunting. So you can't fly it, and then direct somebody in on a deer. But they said once it hits the ground, it's null and void, because the deer drone recovery guy did a podcast and a video on it.
Sure.
Because they found some deer that weren't expired yet. So they find them with the drone, not expired yet, and then they said they can land the drone and the person can go out there and finish it off.
So you're telling me big name guys aren't finding all their bucks in their beds and then going out and hunting, knowing that they're within 200 yards? Because if the means are there,
I don't know.
just like baiting
Sometimes
back
I
in the
think-
day, if the means were there to have better product, you're gonna use them. I mean,
Yeah.
drugs and
I mean,
baseball.
sometime-
I mean, come on.
I'm sure that maybe there's somebody somewhere doing it. I don't think it's widespread or rampant per se. Yes, there's always one asshole,
Right.
that's going to ruin it for everybody. That's like just so obsessed with like, and it's probably not like a big name. It's probably somebody that wants to be a big name is more likely what it is.
I hope you're right. Because I don't know if I feel that way. I feel like the big names all got them. Like they all got, because every single big name show has hours of drone footage. So they already have the drones. Like the drones, it's not a question about whether they have the drones. It's just a question about whether or not they're using them before they hunt or not.
Sure.
And I'm not
Yeah, I mean,
saying,
they're-
I'm not saying guys are, but that if something like that's available, it's being done.
Possibilities there. Again, I think legislation to curb that would be awesome. I think, there's two parts to it. Curbing if you fly a drone and locate an animal, like there should be a 24-hour window where you cannot go.
I'd be okay with 12 because 12 puts you into the
12.
next day. You know what I
That's
mean?
fine.
Like it puts you into the
whatever.
next day,
Yeah,
overnight,
you
whatever.
call it, there's got to be some sort of window where it negates that information you just got. Because, dude, we had the drone deer recovery guys come out here and do an aerial survey of Todd's farm and Todd's buddy's farm that he hunts. And they found every deer on the property. 1,000 acres of farm. They found every deer on it and were able to tell us exactly where they were at. And, dude, being able to zoom in on a buck in its bed and identify the deer.
That's insane.
Like in its bed from hundreds of feet in the air with the deer never knowing you're there is freaking incredible.
So we got introduced to this a little bit early before the drone deer guys were huge. Being with the search and rescue, the fire department stuff locally, we worked with the sheriff's department for some trainings, and they've had bigger drones than even the deer guys have, like more expensive government style drones. A couple years ago, we did some trainings, and we used our farm as just a place to launch the drone and kind of show how finding a human being would be. And then, of course, after the night was over, it's like, hey, you guys want to go see what deer are out in the fields? I'm like, yeah. He just puts the drone above us, and he's zooming in hundreds of yards at night, counting the points on the bucks. I'm like, oh my gosh. We had a Sierra Nevada beer a guy was drinking like a mile away. You could see the Sierra Nevada label on the beer from a mile away.
Isn't that insane?
With this drone up in the air.
If you guys ever think you're sneaking around at night getting away with something.
No. If they're looking for you, they're finding you, you know, like. So I don't know. We can kind of wrap it up on that. I pretty much covered everything. I have some other little stuff in here, but
we're on an hour and a half.
We've been on an hour and a half.
All good, dude.
It was fun. I mean, obviously we kind of ran and raved, but that's how all these podcasts kind of go in this format.
Yeah. No, I get it.
We definitely appreciate it. Probably, I'll probably wait a little while, a year or so, and then I'll probably try to ask you to come on again and just kind of give an update or something.
Whenever you guys want to do it. One of these days, we will get together for a hunt.
I'm kind of screwed next year. I have.
Oh, you got a kid coming.
Yep, April 3rd. My first is due April 3rd, so I won't be doing much out of state hunting next year. Probably he will, all over the place, but. Yeah, we'll set something up one day. Just one
of these days.
We'll figure
Everyone
it
says
out.
I need to come to Ohio. You guys got all the big deer. It's crazy, right? Because think about Ohio. You guys have had crossbows longer than anybody. You have crossbows and baiting and have, 3 potential world records, right?
So Ohio is one of those states where we wish they would do the Iowa laws. You know what I mean? Like, everyone here wants Iowa laws put in place.
Right.
Just for certain things because
draws, you have to have several points, blah blah, more than $100 for a tag.
So there's no public land around us, by the way. Like where we are at here, there is no public land. I mean, I guess there's like little sections.
We've got like a lake and stuff.
Some lakes with some surrounding, but like major public land for it is like 3 hours
down
away
south.
From us. Yes, yep. But down there, it's like crazy now. We used to hunt that as kids, and it was
too
fun.
Crowded now.
Then at first the Amish moved in. So, when we were kids, the Amish weren't hunting in there. Then the Amish moved in because they started doing the van thing, and they came from all over. And then the out-of-staters came with THP and all this stuff. And there was some out-of-staters before that, but, like, the out-of-state thing down Sunrise, there's more out-of-staters than there is locals.
Well, that's how, dude, when I went to Kentucky opening weekend and drove through there, I didn't see a single Kentucky plate. Every single truck was somebody from out-of-state.
Yeah.
Including me, right? I mean, I was one of them.
Yeah, I mean, and that's...
They're all from, it's just the way that it is. Bunch of Amish guys in Kentucky too. We ran into them a couple times. I don't know how they kill anything, dude. Some of those guys smell so bad. Woo!
We live like surrounded by some Amish communities.
Yeah,
so
we have
kind of
Amish
used
2 miles
to it,
away.
but like their hunting style also isn't conducive. But they do kill every year. They kill deer, and every year they kill big bucks.
Yeah, for sure. But again, it's still crazy that there's so many people that hate crossbows.
Yeah,
and they're going to ruin hunting. And it's like, dude, Ohio's had crossbows longer than all of us, and they've just killed 3 of the biggest deer that the world's ever seen this year. So, I think being a 1-buck state is the real.
Oh, that part
thing.
we like. We would love to stay at
We're
1 buck.
2 here, right? Iowa. So a lot of these guys are killing 3 in Iowa.
Yeah, with landowner and late season and blah blah blah.
Landowner, late season, and then your regular tax.
Yeah,
So,
this would be a dead zone. If there was more than 1 buck, this would be a barren dead zone.
You're a 1 buck, or at least like your second buck had to be like after the gun season.
Yeah,
like you could kill a buck during archery season or whatever, and then your second one had to come later in the year. Because our age structure of our bucks definitely suffers from having 2 tags. And dude, I'm just as guilty as anybody. Look at the deer I shot this year. Beautiful, great, young. Probably would have been a giant in a couple years, and I was like, yeah, he looks pretty good, knowing I got another.
You can keep
tag.
hunting. Yeah, you're not done.
Yeah, I could keep going. If I knew I'm done on this deer,
yeah.
I passed a deer that was probably a little bit bigger than the one I killed like 2 weeks later, because I was like, well, this is my second tag, and this is a nice deer, but I already killed a halfway decent one, and he's not big enough, and I let him go, So the 1 buck thing, I think, is the defining rule that dictates your age structure of your bucks, for sure.
Just like anywhere else, Ohio is very location specific. So there's some there's some spots in Ohio where it's like it's just as good as Iowa. Just 150-inch bucks everywhere, lots of places to hunt. we hunt. We're in an interesting area since we're so close to the suburbs. We're like, there's not. We talked about this actually, I think, on our last podcast. There's not enough mature bucks to go around. So if you got like in our, let's just say our immediate 3 mile square area, if you include gun season, there's probably 60 to 75 people hunting.
Yep.
There's like 7 mature bucks, maybe 8,
Yep.
maybe 10, maybe 12, maybe 20. Not 70.
But even
You know
so,
what I mean?
Not
right,
enough to go
So
around.
there's not
No.
70 mature bucks to go around. So like only 1 out of every 6 or 7 guys is actually going to kill a mature buck. It's a lot worse with turkey season because like there's maybe 10 gobblers and 50 guys hunting turkey. So there's only 10 guys out of 50 that are gonna even be able to kill a gobbler. Yes, there's great. Those mature bucks are great. 150, 160 inch, 10, 12s. You got junk, older deer, but there's not enough of them for everyone to kill one. There are places out west where there's only like 5 guys hunting a 20 square mile area, and there's 50 mature bucks because it's
And I
open
think
farmland.
that's part of what Iowa's got going for it. It's got a lot bigger tracts, larger landowners. I know here in Illinois we have an issue where it's much like you guys. There's a lot of 40s and 60s and 80s.
They've started lotting those off. There's lots of 3s and
all over the
6,
place.
and
Everybody's got a guy or two on it.
yep.
Everybody wants to kill a buck, and like you said, there's not enough to go around. So the first good 3-year-old with a nice rack is getting killed, which is hurting the age structure. And the thing that I say too is it's not just that, but like it is easier than ever before to kill those deer. We know more about
cams,
how to kill them. Cell cams, food plots, box blinds, crossbows, all the gear we've
Corn
got.
piles.
It is corn piles in your case. Like it is easier than ever before.
Yep.
We've just gotten better at killing them.
We have guys that like, if I see some of these guys in like March, April, May, June, July, August, like we're buddies, drinking, hanging out, tell stories. Like I avoid some of these people in October, November, and December because I know they're hunting the same deer I am, and like I don't want to bring it up, and they don't want to bring it up, and it's easier if we just don't see each other because then we don't have to talk about. Well, you see that 10? Yeah. You don't want to lie to people, but you also don't want to tell them, yeah, he's been in my food plot 4 days in a row, but I don't want you to go hunt the same farm, because you know that now. So you just conversation kind of dies away during the season,
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. I mean, dude, one of my leases that I hunt out west, and we'll end this. I got 100 acres. I have a landowner on either side of me. He's got 300 on one side and like 200 on the other. So between my lease and his spots that he owns, there's 600 acres.
Square mile.
He barely bow hunts. He gun hunts a little bit. Maybe he shoots one good buck a year.
Yeah.
And usually it's every other year. I haven't shot a good buck out there in years, and none of the guys that I hunt with do. Like, we're pretty picky about what we shoot. And no matter how many years we pass deer and whatever, it's like our age structure never changes. We never get Boone and Crockett deer. It's like no matter what we do, there's 600 acres with like 3 guys hunting it, trying to do the right thing, shooting does, passing little bucks.
And it still doesn't matter.
Whatever. And it's like it's never got in 10 years.
Generations of genes or something, you read those studies, and that's obviously a conversation for another day because I could go on and on about what QDMA says should be happening as compared to what I actually experience in all these states we hunt. But yeah, it's been a good time. We have family
appreciate
Christmas.
it, boys.
We have family Christmas tonight, so I'll probably drink a few more beers before I go to that. But yeah, it's been fun. This is our episode 21. It'll be Monday. So what day is that?
Okay.
Is when it'll release. Today's Friday, the 15th. So
Yeah, so 3 days from now.
3 days from now, it'll be live.
Nice.
We
I'll give it a
appreciate-
share and then mention it on my show next week.
We appreciate you being on.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, no problem.
Deer Shot Podcast, and we are out.